Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today I simply have to tell you about something that happened on Monday. You see, on Monday evening I was at a party, or rather I suppose I was helping to host a party at the culmination, the very end of the BMX archaeology project that I've been working on for the past 5 years or so. But in particular, for the past couple of months, we've really been, whoosh, cracking that whip. Whoosh, whoosh, the deadline approaches, and so a party to finish things on, to reflect a little bit on our successes, and just to have fun was very necessary, very much required. And of course it was thematic, so 80s themes. We had some 80s-ish food going on, sort of junk food and whatever, and fun and games, music. I took along my NES Mini, for example. That always goes down very well, went down very well at the Christmas party. And I also said that I'd bring along a board game. And when I was looking through my board games, I thought, well, Mousetrap could work, or Operation. But actually, something caught my eye, and I thought, I'm going to take that. It's not 80s, but it was around in the 80s, and I loved it in the late 80s, early 90s in particular. And it was a game called Football. Just Football. A very simple game from the 1950s, made out of tin. This is a mechanical football game, and for me and my brother, this was probably our favourite thing outside of playing on the Mega Drive in late primary school in particular. Each football player is attached to a lever using a wire underneath the pitch, and around each player there's actually a little divot that encourages a ball bearing to rest and to find a player. So as the ball bearing rolls around the pitch, it's going to find and come to rest at the feet of one of your players. Kickoff is as simple as dropping a ball bearing in the centre of the pitch, and it will naturally roll to one side or the other. And then play proceeds. Depending on whose team has the ball, you pull the lever back for that little guy. He pivots on his hip, and you loose, and the ball bearing flies off. In fact, there's a really satisfying little wobble technique. You can sort of wibble the lever back and forth. This is the brilliance of the physical mechanics, so that the ball can be on one side of the foot or the other, and you can sort of slightly choose the direction that the ball's going to go in, and then it's off, and it'll land in another divot, and play proceeds from there. Sometimes, if you're really skilled, you can stack up your own players. You can effectively pass the ball within your own team. Other times, ball bearings will ball bearing, sport will sport, and the ball will go to the other team, and then it's up to the other guy to try and score a goal as well. Hence football, or soccer, if you want to call it that. And the only difference in terms of the way that the players are controlled is the goalkeeper. He's sort of on a pivot, so you you can slide the lever almost like almost like a roundabout, I suppose. It's basically you can see it's pivoted in the middle, and you go side to side. And actually, he's quite a successful goalkeeper. Really, it's difficult to curve the ball, but it's also not difficult to score a goal. It's interesting. So I suppose what I'm saying is like a formal kind of penalty sort of situation or striker situation is unlikely to score, because often you'll send the ball flying, or it'll just hit the goalkeeper smack in the head. But there are ways of playing the game to make that easier, and it's actually quite quick to learn. It's a fun, exciting little game, and I have so many fond memories of playing this thing as a kid. The connection with my dad, of course, is very special. It always was. But crucially, I remember in particular the competitions my brother and I would have. I would always be red, he would always be blue, and we would play for hours. Absolutely hours on this thing. And then we'd go and try and replicate it on the Mega Drive or something, FIFA 95, or something like that. And it was never quite as good. It was just never quite as good as the tin football match. And we'd come back, we'd be tinkering away, pun intended, for hours. And I remember being very protective of my little red guys, and also actually over time the red labels seemed to have less stick than the blue labels, so they started to disappear, and I got really quite upset about that, I remember. It's no big deal. I mean, you know, now I know I can just go and restore that. I can get some red labels and cut numbers on. You know, it's no big deal. But the attachment to your team, this physical little group of guys, was real and just so fun. I never got bored of it. And crucially, that's exactly what I was seeing on Monday. These guys, this group was hooked on tin table football. You know, right there, they had the NES hooked up, and of course, you know, Pacman and Excite Bike in particular were the two games that they couldn't stop playing on the night, or indeed at the Christmas party. But it paled in comparison to the intense interest and fun that they were having around this little game. In fact, the head youth worker, the leader of the group, just was scratching his head. He's like, what? Like, of all the things that we've done in this room in the past few years, this is the most exciting exciting thing. A 1950s football game. Like, and at that point, one of the lads sort of looked up and went, yes, sir, yeah, it's better than FIFA 20. Of course, recently there's been some furore, isn't there, about whether or not people are actually enjoying FIFA 20 or not. But then one of the other guys piped up, yeah, no microtransactions and no DLC. And of course, we then thought about how, well, if you wanted to change the players' colours, for example, you could paint them, maybe, if you had to. But he had a point. It's just a thing. It's not complicated. It's not trying to get more money out of you. It's fun. And there is something about that physical interaction, I think, with the levers and the sense of force that you're putting into the game that demands your attention and therefore is not boring. It's exciting. If you want to have a go, you can find versions of this on eBay. I think I found a version going for about £20. Buy it now, with the box and the instruction manual as well, which my version doesn't have the instruction manual. So why not have a go? You know, there's no excuse. It's less expensive than FIFA 20. So there you have it. I simply had to tell you today about, I suppose, the joy of sharing an intergenerational truth. You know, this stuff seemingly will never not be cool, not be fun. And even though initially when I opened the box, there was sort of like, yeah, or whatever, they were sort of slightly looking at it sideways, like, yeah, I'm not sure that's going to be exciting. As soon as I started playing, they were all over it. And I loved it. I loved sharing that with these guys. And it was a great way to finish this project as well, sharing something that was so important to me that also wasn't, you know, whoosh, cracking in the whip, you know, making them work. It was just an honest, fun, lovely evening. It was grand. Thank you guys for watching. As ever, until next time, do take care.